Welcome to the Book Brothers podcast, where I, a pale ghost, and my co-host David Cardoso and I discuss
Not a
books.
pale ghost, not yet.
Not a pale ghost, not yet. Yeah, it's where we discuss books that we can really sink our teeth into. And on this week's episode, we're discussing 1984, which was published, by
Yes.
the way, in 1949. It's George Orwell's bleak dystopic novel where a character called Winston Smith, a clerk in Oceania's ruling party, who briefly rebels emotionally, intellectually, and erotically before being broken by the totalitarian state. I like that word, totalitarian.
Yeah.
By the
Solid one.
totalitarian state and taught to love Big Brother. It's less a plot twist novel than a step-by-step demonstration of how a modern dictatorship can colonize truth, language, memory, and desire. That's the book, 1984. So I've actually read this before, and I decided to reread it. Here's my copy, which is going to be
Yeah.
blurred out, but
You
that's
got a
fine.
really cool cover. Yeah. I got this
Yeah.
link kind of
I
vintage.
like yours, actually. Yours just got more of that
Simple.
vintage feel. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
as you said before. We talked about other covers for 1984, and I know we brought up like the red cover that I really like. The red with I think it's mostly red with like the big eyeball. Yours is just like the white plain with the blue
Yeah,
eyeball. So, but yeah,
I like it.
pretty cool covers.
But yeah, so I've read this book before. I read this like 10 years.
Mhm.
I think I bought this like 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
it took me, I wasn't as into reading at the time. And it took me a
Yeah.
while to read it because it was it's a very dry. Well, it's not that dry. Let me back up. It's not dry, but it's also it is a little dense. For me at the time, it was like too dense. Like I can
Mhm.
handle it now, but back then,
How old were you when you
I
first?
mean, 10 years ago, so I was 29 years old, you know.
Okay. Okay.
But I
Still in
did
your
read it. I
20s.
did enjoy.
Yeah.
I followed this up with Animal Farm, which I
Okay.
instantly loved, and I actually thought, oh,
Mhm.
Animal Farm is better than 84, but no, I've changed my mind since then, since rereading it again this time, and
Mhm.
really being able to appreciate the very many aspects of the story, being able to appreciate the many aspects even more now than back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's interesting because it's that novel. It's like the once in a lifetime novel that sort of defines not just a generation, but it just defines like what does it mean really to be in a society? You know what I'm saying?
I think it
Uh,
comes with maturity, like enjoy, like you talking about you used to like Animal Farm, and then now you realize how great 1984 is. That comes with a little age, I think, and a little
yeah.
wisdom. It's like, oh man, you really see. Yeah, because like you, Adrian, you read it once before. I read this twice, and I listened to the audiobook this time. And so I've read it three times now, but each time it seems to get better and better almost every time. It's like, no, this is so
Yeah.
deep, you know?
And I was telling you that I have actually been listening to the audiobook on YouTube, which is free, by the way,
Yeah.
to fall asleep to, not because it's like boring, but
Mhm.
because it's like, I don't know, it's just like good background noise in a way. So I just
Yeah.
have been
Did you
listening to it.
subconsciously absorb 1984, like the totalitarian like, oppression?
Well, it's so bleak. It's such
Uh-huh.
a bleak story.
Yeah.
And if I had to pair this with another book, which we should do book pairings, by the way,
Yeah.
um, people would say, "Oh,
Discuss it.
you can pair 84 with Animal Farm." Actually, I got a better one for you. You can pair this book with Stoner by John Williams, because
Okay.
if you know anything about Stoner, it's
You know.
it's a similar vibe as far as like he's sort of the quiet, silent type
Hmm.
protagonist,
Yeah.
and he kind of navigates through the world, and he sort of is like very, I don't know how to explain it. He's not like a
Maybe a
super
stoner.
active main character,
Yeah.
but his insight, his mental, like what learn about him in his head is like super interesting. But
Okay.
anyway, but that's not a dystopic novel at all. So I don't want to
Okay.
say that
You
that's
just say maybe like stylistically, there's some like element
yeah.
in there.
It's
The
because
outlook.
for me, when I read Stoner, I was like, this is not normally the kind of book I read. This is very much a sort of slice of
Yeah.
life novel.
Mhm.
There's not crazy plot twists or story turns or none of that. It's all
Yeah.
mental. And 1984 is very mental, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So anyway, but yeah, 1984. I started rereading it again. Unfortunately, I didn't finish it. But
Yeah.
I know the story well just from
Right.
the audiobook as well.
Yeah.
And
You can finish up the audiobook soon anyway, but
yeah, exactly. And I have my
you already know
notes.
how it goes. Yeah. Yeah.
I know. So, but yeah, I highlighted some passages. I'm actually had to grab my Kindle because I was reading it on my Kindle, not the physical book. But I
Okay.
highlighted some passages that I really wanted to talk about, which we'll get into as far as parallels to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
current society. But I want to start with you, David. I mean, you
Okay.
know,
Yeah. I
you've read it
figured.
several
Yeah. I've read
times.
it a bunch. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked
How
a
was
little
it this
bit.
time around? Like, did you find anything
I did
different?
the audiobook this time, so it's kind of a different experience because we talked about audiobooks before, and I enjoyed it. I think audiobooks are good if you've like read the book already because it gives you already know what happens, so it's kind of good to hear someone else read, tell a story. But yeah, like this 1984, in my opinion, like way better than Brave New World. We talked about that as far as dystopians, just because like the writing is so good. Um, I think Orwell kind of like did a good job of there's a little bit of him in it, but it's almost like he's just telling this world. It feels like there's no author in it. It feels like you're really in Winston's it's very bleak, as you said. But also everything in the novel is very mental. It's all psychology, it's all beliefs. And from like the very beginning, one of the best like scenes for me is like the 2 minutes hate, which we could talk about a little bit. Like that 2 minutes hate, like everyone is drawn into this area where they have to hate on was it Goldstein and
Yeah,
the party the opposite I
the
forget
opposing
the
force.
opposing force. Yeah, this kind of like a communist, I guess, socialist perspective, I guess. Would you argue with that's what Goldstein is arguing for? Kind of egalitarian like society or community?
Yeah, because in this world, even capitalism is outlawed. This is like
Yeah.
the just the ultimate form of a totalitarian dictatorship,
Yeah.
basically.
But yeah, like
Um,
the 2 minutes hate is just crazy because they all have to like hate this person and this other party because they're against the party of Big Brother, and so everyone has to come and hate, and like they throw things at the screen, and there's I don't know. I just think that kind of propaganda is like it even happens now today. That's what you talk about, like
I was
the
gonna say, what is the real life equivalent of 2 minutes hate?
two
Because
minutes
I
hate.
feel
Yeah,
like there's a lot of things, but
yes,
for you, what would you say is our
the two
real
minutes hate.
world 2 minutes hate?
Fox News. I don't know. Like any kind of like I
On
would
both
definitely
sides of
say
the aisle, right? Like,
yes, it's much worse on the right, but there is definitely that on the left for sure. I mean, I'm definitely not like, yeah, I mean, we can get into politics, but yeah, I would definitely say like just propaganda in general, like there's just so much propaganda in the mainstream corporate news, like both left and right. I would say the right is far worse at it, but I mean, there's just so much of just nonsense on there that it's more about like, yeah, ginning up hate about people. Because even with like, even if you disagree with someone like politically, like I would disagree with conservatives and stuff like that, but I always try not to like hate the individual because I'm really, like people that I disagree with, it's like, well, on an individual basis, they still, oh, they're cool with this thing, and this thing, which is cool, but I may disagree with on a lot of other things.
I just thought of what I think my 2 minutes hate would be. It's the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake
That debate.
feud. Here's why.
Okay.
Because Drake has always been a very, well, not very, but he's a pretty divisive figure, and more so now with the whole feud with Kendrick Lamar. And I feel like if you're a hardcore Kendrick fan,
I see. There's like a rap
Drake is
battle.
your Goldstein. Drake is the opposing force. Drake is what
Yeah.
stands for everything that
Yeah.
you hate, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like, let's
Yeah.
hate on it. And believe me,
Yeah.
there's legitimate reasons to not like Drake. We won't even get
I
into all
guess,
that because we're trying to keep
yeah.
this a family friendly
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
But you understand what I'm saying.
But I guess, yeah, I guess there's always hate in any avenue. Like this one is like very political. And we're talking about politics mostly, but then of course you have to bring up art and like there's hate in every avenue that you go. And so everyone's gonna
Yeah.
hate this thing or that thing. Also, in that scene though, in the 2 minutes hate, which was kind of crazy, was I really love the scene where in Winston because from the very beginning he's writing in his journal, so he's always thinking for himself. In this society, 1984, Big Brother does not want you to think for yourself. So there's the whole thing. We'll get into the speech and everything as well, like language. But from the beginning, Winston goes to the 2 minutes hate, and you can tell he doesn't want to be there. He's kind of faking it. He's able to do it, but like he also the internal he knows this is wrong and this is stupid, this is worthless, and it's all fake, contrived. But then I love that scene where he looks over at he sees I think it's Julia behind him at first. He doesn't even know her name at the time. And so he sees Julia, but she's all in on it, but he doesn't know she's faking it. but she's in on the 2 minute tape. But he catches O'Brien's glance. He looks at O'Brien.
Yeah.
And in that glance, there's a moment there. I don't know if you remember that scene, Adrian, but he looks over at him and he knows that this guy knows that it's fake too. I love that scene that he describes it really nice. Like, it's really early in the book, but I love that like little moment where he has like this knowing smile that someone else is like, you know, this is fake too, right? And like, I know it's fake, you know, it's fake. And then they go right back to not looking at you. I really love that moment of like connection where they're in this world of like this dystopia, which I really like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you know what the real life analog to that is, by the way, is North Korea.
Yeah,
I feel like we have a
probably.
1984
Yeah,
world like analog now in North Korea
yeah.
because you've probably seen footage where they sort of have to stand around the statue of Kim Jong
Kim Jong-un.
whoever, and
Yeah.
yeah, and like they like all are crying and raving and like, oh, we love dear leader, we love dear leader, whatever they're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But so it's interesting
Well,
to
in
like
this, they do it
compare.
in the schools too in North Korea. So like we don't really get a sense of the schools here in 1984.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like the one thing he doesn't mention, but yeah, like I know in the schools in like countries like like North Korea, they do that where they
Yeah.
indoctrinate the children.
I mean, when I was a kid, I always thought doing the Pledge of Allegiance was silly. And then as I got
I
old, I
yeah,
realized not only is it silly, that's just straight up indoctrination. And
I
I
think
hate
that
that.
now a lot. Yeah, I don't like it either. Yeah,
You
I
know,
really
when you're a kid, you don't have a lot of, you don't have many choices in a lot of things.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, yeah, North Korea, I think is a perfect analog. But there's
Mm.
so many parallels to just regular, good
Yes.
old fashioned American society, right? So.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, but yeah, that was a great moment. Because in my head when I read that chapter, I honestly thought everybody realizes this is bullshit. They're all just pretending.
yeah, yeah.
But he just happens to spot the one guy who's like on the same wavelength as him,
Yeah.
and he was able
And it
to suss that out.
turns out later on O'Brien is not, as we'll find out, but
Yeah, exactly.
O'Brien is not on his side. But like that flash of awareness was pretty interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say we talked about it too a little bit on the text back and forth. But honestly, I think like not only is 1984 like one of my favorite books, but I honestly think I was like just in all the books that I've ever read, it's probably like the best book I've read just because it's very succinct. It's only like 200. My copy is like 250 pages. It like doesn't overstay its welcome. It moves pretty fast. It has a great like love story, which is like one of the big things of the book, you know. Um, in this world, this dystopian world where you can't think for yourself, you're propagandized all the time with the party. Their jobs are menial. Um, I don't know, just that whole world, the whole world it builds about like just thought control and everything. Like I just think it's like the best book, because it's always going to be timeless and it's so well written too. There's not a lot of characters, so that's like maybe like the only downside you could say is like it's not very heavy on character, but really you just have Winston and Julia and O'Brien as like the main, and then everyone else. I think that's kind of almost like intentional too, where it's like it's almost a world without characters because there's not much thought in this world either. So there's not a lot of people stand out.
I like
Um,
that aspect of it. I think it works.
yeah, it's really
And,
good. It's really good.
the biggest theme for me was loneliness, and I feel like Winston
Yeah,
is a very lonely character,
yeah,
and not because there's anything wrong with him or anything. It's just because
no,
he lives in a world that's built for you to not have friends, to not have lovers. Like you're not
yeah.
supposed to have like that's a thought crime. Love
Mm.
is a thought
Doctor.
crime, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I think that it's interesting that the right now we have this certain like what are they calling it, the male loneliness epidemic.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and and
That's
I feel
very
like
real.
I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of conservatives will like see because depending on your political stance, you could read 1984 if you're conservative, and you could easily make come to the conclusion that this is like the world that liberals want to build. Because think about it, I'm always hearing conservatives bitching about thought crime, and liberals, they just like you can't think this way, you can't think that. We have to think how liberals think. Like everything is a thought crime, everything, and they're they misunderstood the book. It's like the
yeah,
same kind of guys that
yeah.
watch Fight Club and think that Tyler Durden is a good guy or
Fight
something.
Club has very similar themes. Yeah, but
You
it's
know,
just
you understand
yeah.
what I'm getting at,
I
though.
think
Like,
there's I would say that like going back to Fight Club. I think there's a kernel of truth with Tyler Durden. Like someone like there's a kernel of it. There's
There's
a
always a
kernel of
kernel.
it.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
kernel of truth to every perspective, which is fine. Doesn't mean you're gonna go out and start beating the crap out of people and like start, you don't need to
Yeah.
like you got to be aware that there's always something within us that's like a little dark and a little like mysterious, and that's fine. But you don't have to like, I don't know. There's this whole like religion is built off people like that are dangerous.
Absolutely. But anyway,
Um,
so let's talk
yeah.
about Julia.
Okay.
I was reading I don't know if you've ever heard of tvtropes.org. Have you ever been on that?
I have not.
So if any, you should actually, as a writer, you should actually be going on there every day because there's like a trope for everything, basically. Like everything in any
Okay.
story is a trope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was reading the trope list for 1984, and there's different tabs that talks about other aspects of any given movie or show or book or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of them, somebody asked like, did Julia betray him in the end?
Hmm.
Like, was it her that betrayed him? Or
When after they got tortured at the end, or
yeah, like there's sort of a running fan theory that people think that maybe Julia was actually
I
spying,
don't think
what
so.
was in fact spying on him the whole time to get him
Hmm.
to land him in trouble.
I mean, like you
What do
can.
you think
That's
about
also.
that?
I don't think so. That could be like a conspiracy element because it's quite clear that in at least in the book, Orwell makes it clear that it was Mr. Charrington, the owner of the place that they find in the middle, the little shop that he ran. Like he's the one that ratted him out pretty much. Like he kind of like was like, oh yeah, I rat. He basically like there's an admission there, knowing. I forget exactly how he says it, but it's pretty clear. He makes it as Charrington is a member of like the thought police or something, and like he
See,
ratted him out to the
that's
party.
that's what I thought too, but
Yeah,
the idea of Julia being the one that rats him out is more spicy, right? Because
yeah,
it
yeah.
just feels more I don't know.
That's a bigger betrayal.
It's a way
So.
bigger betrayal.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think so though, because even at the end of the novel, we could jump ahead, but yeah, once they get captured and they get tortured, then at the very end they meet up again. They have this very after their big love affair, and they're basically lovers for a while, and then they feel no more love for each other anymore because they basically betrayed each other at the torture chambers, and I don't know. I thought it was clear that she had gone through what he went through. Like they were in this together kind of thing. And now they both came to the same conclusion. They couldn't. Big Brother forced them not to feel like love anymore, which is pretty dark, pretty depressing. But
Yeah,
I don't know. For me, it was like pretty much they both went on that same kind of arc, at least for me. But maybe
yeah,
it's maybe it's more spicy for people to think about Julia
yeah.
betraying Winston. But
Even though, like you said, it's Mr. Charrington, but
yeah,
wouldn't it
the
be
owner of the
hilarious
shop.
if it
Yeah,
actually was Julia?
yeah,
My favorite thing from the entire book, my favorite thing is the whole war is peace, freedom is
yes.
slavery,
Slavery,
hinder
ignorance
or
is strength.
ignorance is strength.
Ignorance is strength.
To me, that is the biggest thing that we have now in real life.
Yeah, those themes are, yeah,
Yeah, I really do believe that that is what of all the things that George Orwell sort of predicted or thought could happen in real life, I feel like that's where he got it right the most because we kind of live in that world where one person says something, but it's actually the opposite, but it doesn't really
Mhm.
the truth doesn't really matter anymore either. Like
Yeah. It's like a
which is
post-truth.
crazy to say, but
Yeah,
we're living in a post-truth society. It doesn't
yeah,
matter what the actual truth is.
hmm
If you have a big enough platform and if you say something enough times, that becomes the truth, regardless of its objective, whether it's objectively true or not. And
yeah,
I think, I don't know, I just feel like that to me is the most realistic
yeah.
aspect.
That deep sense of irony. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the greatest slogan that he has from the book: "War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength."
Yeah. That whole
And
opposite thing is great. The
yeah,
Ministry of
yeah,
Love,
right. Yes,
the
Ministry of
the,
Love,
the Ministry
Ministry of
of
Truth,
Plenty, yeah,
Ministry of
Ministry of
Penny.
Truth.
Yeah, even their jobs are crazy. Like it's funny that the job, like one person's job, I forget he mentions like all they do is put like shoelaces on boots, and like his job is like newspaper checker. Like he's always changing up the propaganda. Um, and like the Ministry of Truth is about untruth. Ministry of Peace is about war. Yeah, just the irony, the deep sense of irony throughout Orwell, where it's like, yeah, this job is supposed to do this, and it does the exact opposite. So that's definitely one of the big themes of the book.
Yeah.
Definitely carries through to today, big time.
what did you think about during the torture in room 101?
Yeah, that was
What did
pretty
you think
crazy.
about Winston betraying Julia, saying do it to her
Yeah, that
with
was a
the
pretty
rats?
oh yeah, the rats at the end. I would say maybe like I was kind of disappointed in the fact that Orwell didn't like really the rats kind of come up only one time when him and Julia are in the loft together. They only really come up one time in the book. So I thought it was kind of interesting that he does mention how Winston has this fear of rats. But he didn't foreshadow it too much in that. But yeah, at the end of the rat, I mean, it's just such a crazy torture scene. I mean, I don't know. I think for me, it's like Orwell's basically saying at the very end of the book, he's willing to throw Julia under the bus, this person that he loved, and that like was a symbol of like love and like going against the system, and he's willing to like have anything horrible done to her, and he actually meant it. And so for him, it's almost like the death of love. It's almost like the party killed love kind of thing. And
Yeah.
they actually mention that too. I think O'Brien mentions it when he's going on his big, like he has a long, some long speeches at the end. But O'Brien talks about how his that's the goal of the party is to like crush the. He's talking about like crush the sexual desire, crush the, no more orgasms. Almost, he's saying like we don't want the animal desire there. That's like our ultimate goal. Like if we can stop that, we can stop anything. Um,
Right. And
so
the funny thing about all that also, well, it's not funny, but you know what I mean.
yeah, messed up part.
People will throw away everything for a cultish political party. And even in real life,
Happening right now.
how many marriages do you think have been ended because of the current far right movement? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, honestly.
how many women have left their husbands because they just drank the Kool-Aid and went full
Yeah,
blown
yeah,
into the current, MAGA movement.
yeah.
That's why that aspect is so interesting to me because that's another thing that I see in real life.
Hmm.
You hear about all the time, and it's like people they'll throw everything away if it
Yeah.
means. I guess like are they trying to fit in? Like what is that? Like in real life, I mean, like what are they trying to do by buying the Kool-Aid? Hook, line, and sinker.
I think it's like it's yeah, like, I think it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's living through vicarious. It's almost like vicarious, like I think the MAGA movement for a lot of men specifically, it's like vicariously they're living their desire out in whether it's Trump or someone else. That movement to them means something, It's almost like they could live out their crazy desires in a way that they can't live out in regular life. I feel that's some of it in
Yeah,
our current movement.
and
Back to
yeah,
the book. I wanted to get back to speaking of Julia. You brought up Julia. What about? I forgot about this, but actually, Winston was previously married, and he hints at that he has a former wife, Catherine, and he's
yeah.
not divorced to her. And so it's talking about love and everything, how like they end up killing love at the end by getting tortured. But he loved Julia, but he did not love his wife. And they even talk about there's just like funny background. It's kind of funny, but like his marriage, his previous marriage to Catherine was like very loveless and like she became this person. She was very much for the party. She used to say slogans all the time, and she was kind of like thoughtless. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like he's speaking about marriages, but he's clearly someone that thinks for himself and like wants to be free,
Yeah.
which is all this book's about. He wants to think for himself, be free, have like pure all these thoughts. She's not. She very much wants the party control. She wants the party to think for her. Speaking of what's going on today.
That's another great parallel to what's going on now. That goes
Yes.
back to what I was. So I'm
Right.
glad you bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, right? How you said how he didn't really love his wife, but he loved Julia,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that's just another sort of human thing. I mean, how many
Yeah.
people go through life in
Oh yeah.
loveless marriages and
Yeah.
that they
Oh yeah. And
fall for
even
something
like,
else?
yeah, yeah, all the time. But also it's funny too because Catherine is like, there's the idea that the party said like, oh, you should reproduce for the party and for the good of human, for the party. And then
That
so
sounds familiar.
I know. It sounds like that's a very conservative, traditionalist mindset. But even Catherine herself was like, oh, I just do this for the duty of the party. There was no love in the lovemaking part. It was just like, oh, this is just a duty I have to do, and. That's why Winston loves Julia because she's not like that. She wants to do it because she desires him. There's like a desire there for someone. It's not just
Yeah.
that I'm reproducing. It's like also I like you and. So
Julia's not a trad wife, which is the big thing
yeah.
right
Which I
now.
like Julia. I like Julia a lot because of that. She's actually cool, you know. But she also hides well too, for the most part, until they get captured, of course, because they risked it all for love and for romance. So, you know.
Yeah, and that the other interesting aspect about this book, I think, is that there's no actual violence in the book. Like even
Not
when he's
really.
tortured,
There's a little bit, yeah. There in the torture there is a
very
little bit.
little, but it's the torture is mostly mental.
It's up here, yeah. It's all mental, yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you on that note because for those of you, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't read it, obviously, but the ending they've killed love out of Winston, right?
Hmm.
They killed
Hmm.
it. They got rid of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And he ends up in a cafe
Hmm.
drinking gin, which I
Yeah.
can't think of a more boring, terrible thing to drink, by the way. And he says, or he thinks to himself in the end, which is the most probably the most chilling line in the whole book, which is "I love Big Brother."
Yeah. The last line that he
What did you
loved.
think about that?
Yeah, it's kind of it's crazy because like the whole book, he feared Big Brother. It was all about fear. You know, the whole book is like fear, fear for thinking for yourself, fear of showing kind of any independent thought or love. And instead, at the end, he ends up loving Big Brother. So it just shows how warped he became after being tortured. Um, and also, it showed how like maybe some what's going on in society too, that they probably use torture, both physical and mental, to get people to that point to actually love. It's basically it was a societal, what's the term when you end up loving your abuser? There's a term for that. Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah,
It's societal Stockholm syndrome because you end up loving your abuser. And it's like it's just so tragic
yeah,
and terrible. It's like, oh man, like, you know, the exact opposite worldview that he knew was wrong the whole time, he ends up loving at the very end. It's almost like he's given up his own mind, his own original thoughts, you know?
yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
death by a thousand cuts, except the cuts are
Kind of.
all mental.
Yeah.
Like
He does get physically attacked in the cells because if you remember, like there's a few scenes where he gets beaten and beaten, you know. But it's not like you said, he doesn't really describe it. He just says that he gets beaten, you know, pretty much. So that's probably like the only real violence that you see.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this book so interesting is that
Mhm.
there's no other than that, there's no actual violence, and it's all
Yeah.
mental. But
Right.
the idea is still terrifying because
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
again, we're seeing so many real life examples of a lot of the things in this book today.
Mhm. Mhm.
In the world, not just on in the U.S., but everywhere across the board.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
But
that's
yeah,
why the book is so good too. It stays with you because like the terror is like it's like just above you, you know? It's like
yeah,
while you're reading it, it's like you know no one's really like even when Winston and Julia are in their they find their nice little place together with the Charrington's place, the shop. And at no point did you ever really think someone's gonna come and just shoot the guy. You know, you don't really even Winston probably feels that he knows he's risking it all, could get arrested. But at no point do you think like, oh, there's going to be some horrible like not like Parable of the Sower where there's more like violence throughout, you know? There's no like fires, there's no like threats like that. It's just all mental. You know that he's risking it all, but like he could get arrested at any point and something could break at that point. But it's just like just out of reach, you know? Which is makes it
exactly.
really good. It makes it a really good book because it's like you
Yeah.
know, nothing like I don't know. It's just it's a very interesting book in that way because like a lot of the threats in most books I would say are like more physical or direct, but this one it's always just out of reach. And you don't know
Yeah.
how is this gonna break, you know? So
I think that's part of the reason why it is such a good book is that
yeah.
it doesn't have to it's like I call it the Jaws effect. Jaws is scarier
Yeah,
because you
he's like
don't see the shark,
kind of you just see the
for
fin. You
most
see the fin, you
yeah.
know. See the fin go.
Exactly. Like you see the fin
Yeah,
throughout 1984, but you
right.
don't see the whole shark until the
There.
very end, and even then you still don't see the
Right.
full shark at the very
Right.
end, and it
And
works.
O'Brien mentions that in a speech when he's torturing Winston. He's like, you will never see the party. Like you will never know Big Brother. Like he's always there and you'll never see him. Like, and that's kind of like the haunting, like terribleness of it, you know? It's like it's
Yeah.
always there, but you never see it, you know? That's pretty crazy.
That's what I love about this book too, is that so many dystopian aspects that we take for granted now are in this book, especially like
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
surveillance state.
Yeah.
And
Oh, the
I follow this.
telescreen. Yeah, the telescreen.
I follow this one TikTok account that it's a guy that he's a First Amendment auditor. Have you heard of this? A First Amendment auditor.
No, no, no,
So
no.
basically, these guys go out in public.
Part of the Ministry of Truth.
Well, no, they're
Okay.
independent journalists, but they go out in
Okay.
public. They go to like post offices and they'll stand outside businesses, they'll stand outside banks and
Yeah.
they just film stuff. And then always there's always somebody that comes out and like, what are you filming? Why are you filming this place? Like, well, if I'm on a public sidewalk. I'm allowed to film. It's my First Amendment right. You have no expectation of privacy in public and all that. But
Yeah.
the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of times these guys will say to people, you know that you're on camera all the time, right? Like you're on camera when the second you leave your house, pretty much.
Probably, yeah.
Every store you go to, every government building, every
Yeah. Those
non-government
cameras
building,
going.
there's
Yeah.
cameras everywhere. Like the surveillance state is here, and that's just one facet of it. The real surveillance state is right here. We carry it
Yeah.
in our pockets
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that could not predict was that we would gladly
Yeah.
have the
Carry them
telescreen in our
around. Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
We carry it
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And what's the thing that we're all that we're in an echo chamber. We create our own echo chambers. We
Yeah.
create our
Yeah.
own double speak, our own propaganda. Like
Oh, yeah.
we end up
Double
putting
think.
ourselves in the bubble,
Yeah.
with all of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
If Orwell was alive today, he would lose his mind, I think. Oh, excuse me,
Maybe.
I
Maybe.
shouldn't cuss. He would lose his flipping
Yeah.
mind if he was alive today,
Yeah.
George
Maybe.
Orwell.
Maybe. Yeah.
Don't you think?
Maybe.
Don't you think he's rolling over in his grave right now? Like it was just with everything going on and the world
Maybe
that
it just
we've
gives him
built.
really good material to write about. He's like, man, I could write a really good book now. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely there's no way he could have predicted like the phones, the fact that it's like it could technically be tracking us, you know.
exactly. Well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like double think. I mean,
Yeah. Double think at
if
the
you
same
watch
time.
Fox News, double think is your life. Like
Yes.
that's everything. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. The fact that yeah, double think. I almost like to think double think as like you believe in a contradiction without knowing it.
Yeah.
Or like you can believe two things. Like O'Brien talks about at the end. He says like when a fact goes against what I just believed, I disregard it, I throw it away, and then I say it never existed. And that is for the benefit of the party. So whatever the party believes is what I believe. Where do we see that today? Whatever the party believes is what I believe. So like I'll throw it away when it's inconvenient. That's what doublethink is. As soon as it's inconvenient, nope, I don't believe it anymore. You know, that's it.
Or as we like to say now, that's cognitive dissonance, right?
Cognitive dissonance,
That's
cognitive
the
bias. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And not to just I keep doing that. Not to just crap on the right,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
because you see it on the left too. But I think it's I personally think it's worse on the conservative side of things,
Yes.
because even things that we know to not like, for example, climate change. Conservatives have really doubled down on that. Like, oh, there's no climate change. That's just a liberal conspiracy that they're trying to
Yeah.
push, or a liberal agenda, I should say.
Mhm. Mhm.
But what agenda is there? We have the evidence. Like we see it every day.
I feel like a lot of people just don't want to take responsibility, you know? It's just like they don't want to take like, oh, we humans aren't doing that, you know? It's just like that. It's just like it's easier to dismiss it, you know? They don't like, oh, it's not my problem, you know?
Yeah, it's the next generation's problem. And
Kind of, yeah, you know?
what is the next generation going to think of the world that we're leaving behind for them? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, yeah,
we couldn't just trust the science
right,
and
for
try to
sure.
turn things around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had some interesting highlights from the book that I wanted
Okay,
to
yeah, let's go over
discuss
some
really quick.
highlights here.
One of them, I really like this passage. And even when they became discontented, as they sometimes did, their discontent led nowhere, because being without general ideas, they could only focus it on petty, specific grievances. Isn't that basically the culture wars?
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah,
described like what you would think of as the culture wars
yeah.
today?
It's like picking out little tiny things that you disagree with and blowing them up for no
Yeah.
reason. There's just so much of that, like everywhere. It's very annoying, you know?
Yeah,
It
there's a
pisses me
trope
off.
for that. too on TV tropes where it's I forget what it's called, but it's like the lamp shading, or where it's like you're worried about the color of the lampshade while the house is burning down around you. But
Oh,
instead
okay.
of putting
The,
out the
the
fire,
house, yeah.
you're arguing
What about
over
the
what color
color?
the lampshade should be.
Yeah.
Which I
Sounds
love that.
familiar.
I love that
Yeah.
trope.
Sounds
Um,
familiar to today's politics. What's the context of that in the book? Like what moment was that? Do you know?
he's talking about the proletariat, I believe, if
Okay.
I remember correctly, because remember how he basically says like the proletariat don't realize their power,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
strength in
That was really
numbers
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because yeah, that was a really fascinating part because he talks about that like 85% of the population of Oceania,
or proles.
of the proletariat. And
Yeah,
he even said they're not even that political. They're just kind of there. He even said that, and I was like, that's like today. Like most people aren't political or don't even vote or are kind of like, maybe independent minded. But a lot of people, like he just mentioned, like, yeah, so many people have a lot more power if they actually took an investment in this stuff, but they just don't. They just don't really, they're too like busy with their day-to-day lives. They're working. He talked
yeah.
about that a little bit too. You just keep them busy in job, keep them entertained enough, and like they can be distracted and, you know,
And that's why I hate when people say, "Well, I don't follow politics. I don't keep up
yeah,
with politics." I'm like, "Well, you should,
yeah,
because politics informs every aspect of society,
yeah,
literally."
right,
Because you know who cares about politics? Your boss, your
yeah,
landlord, the company, the CEO of the company you work for, assuming you work for a
yeah,
company.
yeah, yeah,
Those people care about the people that could potentially give you a loan if you ever need one in a time of crisis. Let's say maybe it's a, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you should care about politics because
yeah,
it
yeah.
informs every aspect of modern
Yeah.
society.
And it doesn't mean you have to follow it like every second, but it's still important.
No, yeah,
Sure.
but yeah,
Have some
and
idea.
we could go into the whole, education. A bad education system is the biggest weapon
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
conservatives have. But that's
Yeah.
a whole nother. You could probably
Right.
do
Right.
10 episodes on that.
Yeah.
The other passage I wanted to read: the larger evils invariably escaped their notice. The great majority of proles do not even have telescreens in their homes. So I thought that was interesting because it's sort of to me, and I don't know how see what you think, but to me, I feel like the proletariat in this book, they have the most freedoms. I thought, right? Because
Kind of
they're
sounds
not
like it. Yeah.
beholden as much to the party as Winston is.
Yeah.
Did you get that too? Did you sort of get the sense that the proletariat are the most freed people in this world?
Maybe in a way, like as long as it's kind of like, it's kind of hinted at as long as they don't think too much. Because like the danger with Winston was he had his journal and he was always like, he was a very kind of like individual person and he, kind of lived alone mostly. So like, but the proles, if they're like in a big social groups and they're just working like a normal like job or something like that, like there's one scene where he talks to the old bartender and he's an old man, but he just works at a bar and but he's not that political. And I just feel like if you're working that kind of job, you're not really gonna, yeah, it's just like you're just in a social job, so you're just going about your day-to-day thing. So you're not gonna be as political, I would say. Yeah.
Because when I was reading, rereading that first part of the book,
Mhm.
my thought was if I had to live in this world, I would want to be a proletariat because I feel like I would have the most wiggle
Most
room,
freedom. Yeah,
most
yeah.
freedom.
Maybe because like they're not really gonna be thought criminals, they're just doing their thing. So they're not
Yeah,
gonna be writing any journals and stuff. So
yeah. One last highlight,
sure. I got some
and
highlights too.
this is in reference to the he's talking about the lottery and stuff.
Okay.
And he says only small sums were ever actually paid out. The winners of the big prizes being non-existent. And I thought that was interesting, not just in the literal sense of paying out a lottery, but
Yeah.
the idea that I took it as the lottery is just this fake thing that
Hmm.
the ruling party does to give people hope that they actually have a chance at like
Chance to break out and make some
yeah.
money.
And in real life we have that too, and it's not the
Mhm.
actual literal lottery, but it's the American dream, which it's sort of like banged into your head as a child, like, oh, you live the American dream, but there is no
Yeah.
American dream.
Yeah.
not for the regular working class people like us, maybe
No.
for a small percentage of people. So that's why that passage stood out
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. It's a pretty good one. Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah, we're promised like, oh, if you work hard enough, if you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, you'll eventually get out
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Definitely not
actually, no, you won't.
anymore. Yeah,
No,
that's
you
gone
won't. Not
away.
anymore.
That's
Yeah.
gone away. Yeah. I believe that for a while too. Like I believe that probably like 25 and under, Like there was a point at which in my late 20s I kind of realized like you kind of just gotta get lucky,
Yeah,
Really. I mean,
basically.
that's like a big part, of society. So,
And some
um,
people do get lucky.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
always the worst people in the world that get
Like
lucky.
not always. I mean, there are
Not
there's always
always, but
exceptions. Yeah, yeah. There's always exceptions where it's like, oh, this person actually worked hard and actually did this. Like, oh, they made it. Oh, that's cool. That happens. Like, sure, but it's pretty rare. Um,
I mean, like, Mr.
yeah,
Beast played the game and he got lucky and now he's a
yeah.
gazillionaire.
I mean, he
But he's a
worked
terrible
hard.
person. Yeah,
Like
that's what I
he
mean.
worked hard. He did a lot of stuff, but he just went to the customers. He just saw people liked this kind of stuff, and that's what he made. So.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the most difficult thing. It just he took time to do it, but
We should do a 2 minutes hate for Mr. Beast every
we
day.
should do
Just
that.
just him.
Maybe that'll be a Book Brothers special, 2 minutes hate. There's a highlight that I wanted to share with you, Adrian, too.
Shoot.
I would argue that you could highlight like most of this book, by the way.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me because I was like with these highlights, I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pick highlights that speak to me and that are not as popular. Because we could do like the war is peace, freedom is,
Oh yeah.
the other
Everyone
one, like
knows
those are
that
so
though.
common. Those are so common. So
Yeah.
mine is on page 47. It says, one of these days, thought Winston with sudden deep conviction, Syme will be vaporized. He is too intelligent. He sees too clearly and speaks too plainly. Party does not like such people. One day he will disappear. It is written in his face.
Today
I
I
love
learned that Syme has a cabinet position in the current administration.
I know, yeah, yeah.
I
Today,
love
yeah.
that. I love that part too. I almost highlighted that, believe it or not.
Okay. I love that those characters, Simon Parsons was another one, but like Simon in particular, because he was going on about Shakespeare and Chaucer. He loved language. And I love that because like Winston is like recognizing something here. He's like, wait a second, this guy is actually really smart. He loves language. He loves talking about it. He's even interested in how the party is manipulating language. They're cutting away language. They're not allowing certain, like that's where the whole, double think and like ungood, all these new words come from because they're getting rid of vocab and language.
Yeah.
But he could tell that Syme in particular, he's, a minor character, but he could tell that this Syme that I think he works for, it was like the Ministry, I think it was Truth. I think it was Ministry of Truth. But
Yeah, I think
anyway,
so.
he could tell that this guy was actually interested in it and loved language. And so he could tell that he's uh, earlier on or around this time, like Winston is talking with Syme about the language and everything. He's interested in it, but he could tell Syme was too interested in it. He was too intelligent and he was too open about it. Like he was just speaking about it openly to everyone. And then Winston, ironically and kind of like, sadly is admitting like this guy's going away. Like there's no way. This guy's just
Yeah.
open about his intelligence and he's speaking about it freely and openly. Like this guy is screwed. Like I just love that moment over there.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy will not make it.
No.
What'd you think about that, Adrian?
I love that whole exchange because he's such a complete opposite to Winston.
Yeah.
And because he is so open and he is so just like talkative
Hmm.
and expressing these ideas that he probably shouldn't be expressing out loud to anyone.
Yeah.
And I think it just serves as a great contrast to Winston's character and
Hmm.
how he goes through life being a member of the outer party, as it were.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just pictured Syme as this like skeezy little, almost like a weasel-like creature. Just like I
Maybe.
picture him as like
Yeah, because
wiry-haired little rat kind of guy.
yeah, because in a weird way, he sounds kind of like someone that knows that what he's doing is wrong, and yet because he can't be quiet, because he's openly talking about what the party is doing and that we're manipulating language, like he can't just do that. And Winston always kept those secrets to himself whenever he knew a truth that he shouldn't express. He would, hide from the telescreen and like, make sure no Big Brother can't see what he's writing and hiding with Julia. So like Winston would always like keep a lid on certain things, but like the Syme guy's just openly talking about what they're doing with the propaganda. It's like you can't do this, dude. I don't
Yeah.
know. I really like that. I thought it was funny. So
Fan casting in my head, Scoot McNairy could play Syme if
who's
they ever.
Scoop
Did you
McNairy?
ever see? Oh, he's been in a lot of stuff. Did you ever see Killing Them Softly
I
with
have
Brad
not.
Pitt?
I don't think I've seen it.
Did you ever see that one Superman movie where the guy blows himself up in Congress while he's giving testimony or whatever?
Yes.
The guy in the wheelchair, that's Scoot McNairy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had
brother.
such a
All right.
small part for such a talented
Yeah,
actor, but
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you kind of look like him. You kind of look like him a little bit.
I look like him. All right.
A little bit, but
I don't know what that means.
um
Maybe I speak too
no,
openly and honestly. Maybe
yeah,
I'll be banished pretty soon. That's what I
yeah,
was thinking. Maybe we'll be
exactly.
banished here, Adrian.
Well, probably we're gonna be
All right,
vaporized.
there you
Which, by
go.
the way, and you tell me what you thought, because the first time I read 1984, I thought vaporize meant literally like to vaporize something, like to like destroy them at the atomic
Yeah,
level.
so
But that's not it's not literally what that means. It's just vaporizing them, as in their entire existence is just
disappeared.
completely, yeah.
Disappeared. Yeah.
The first time I read it 10 years ago, I thought that that's what it literally
Yeah, so
vaporization.
I did want to ask you this question. This is a question I was going to ask you because Syme, he says Syme will be vaporized and he does disappear later on. And so does Parsons. So those two guys go away. Parsons gets ratted out by his children.
By his own, yeah, I was gonna say his
His
own
own kids.
daughter.
His own, yeah. Speaking of like, that sounds like Hitler Youth right there. That was
Oh
crazy. That
yeah.
was like the kids and everything. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, with Syme, so when he says this guy's gonna get vaporized, do you think? Because I was thinking, because we see with Winston, he goes through the whole cycle. So he starts out being a thought criminal. He's thinking for himself. He's an individual, does not believe in the party. Then he gets tortured. And at the very end, he loses his own identity. He becomes one with the party. He loves Big Brother. Do you think that's what happened with Syme as well? Do you think when he says vaporized, do you think he means that he actually turned to be a follower of Big Brother? And like we just don't know where he went now. Maybe he's like off with a parole somewhere. Like, do you think he's like still alive or do you think he's killed?
I
I,
mean,
I don't know. That's
just
my question to you.
I think in this world, people are expendable, like extremely expendable. They're just
Yeah.
bodies at the end of the day,
Mhm.
to the ruling party.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think Syme, they could just saw him as an expendable asset. They can get rid of and replace him easily with somebody else and not even think twice about it. So my head canon is that he was just, gone completely.
You think he was killed?
Well, and that's the thing. Winston talks about this. He says people aren't always killed either. They may be sent
Yeah.
somewhere else. They may be
Right.
sent to a labor camp. They may be
Yeah.
like maybe Simon was just sent to a labor camp and that was it. And maybe he
Yeah.
doesn't die, or maybe he's just reassigned or and re programmed in a different way
Mhm.
to do something. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like there's so many
Yeah.
variables at stake.
Yeah. Yeah.
And considering, his position within the party, I feel like they wouldn't have necessarily killed him. I feel like they would have just put him somewhere else, somewhere
Okay.
far worse, where
Yeah.
where he won't want to be as expressive and open as he is when we
Mhm.
meet him in early in the
Yeah,
book.
because yeah, kind of like you when I first read it, I thought I was like, oh, he's gonna be killed. But now I think in my head, I have it that Syme was like tortured and then like sent off somewhere else. Like he was like changed to love Big Brother and
Yeah,
then he's sent off somewhere else. Like they changed his mind and then basically tortured him half to death until he like became a new person and
I kind of
vaporized his old identity, maybe in a way.
exactly. I sort
Yeah.
of think about Clockwork Orange and the torture scene in
Kind
that
of.
movie.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Similar to
know,
that, yeah.
where
Yeah.
they
Pretty
open
crazy.
your
Yeah, his
eyeballs and
example. Yeah, pretty crazy.
but a more mental version of that, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Maybe they make you listen to I don't know, Sabrina
Lord.
Carpenter on a loop. Nah,
Super
Sabrina
Lord or
Carpenter is
something.
fine. Did you say Lord? I like
Yeah,
Lord
Lord.
actually. I like Lord. Lord is
I
actually
just happened. I saw a South Park episode about Lord, so I just up in my head.
South Park. Now there's a topical
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk
reference.
about that. Yeah, saw the new episode. That was fun. Okay.
um,
Anyway, more in 1984. Another question I have for you. Speaking of
yes,
slime, because he's all about speech. So big in the book too is like language, like ungood, doublethink, all this new words that they're cutting
unperson.
language, unperson.
Memory hole. I love that one.
Oh yeah, the memory hole, yeah. And Syme talks about too how they're changing language. So my question to you is, do you think that does language give us thought, or does thought give us language, or is it back and forth? Like, what's your take on?
That's a chicken and the egg kind of scenario, isn't it?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
when caveman days, right? We didn't have language. We
Mhm.
drew pictures on
Yeah.
walls, right?
Yeah.
To depict stories and
Mhm.
events and whatnot. So I think eventually, it started off as we know because we created language, and
Yeah.
then and language was informed by us, by our thoughts, our emotions, our feeling, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But I think over time it happens the other way around too, right? Because you know how they say like, oh, words are just words, sticks and stones and all that. But it's like,
Mhm.
well, at the end of the day, words do have meaning and they do have an impact.
Yeah.
And just
So you
because
you would
you're a
say it's an
proponent of,
interaction.
yeah, I mean, just because you're like, say, for example, a proponent of the First Amendment doesn't mean that you can just say whatever you want without consequence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
can't you can't scream fire in a theater and expect to get away with it, or say bomb on an airplane. And so it's one of those interesting sort of like conundrums. You know what I mean?
We're
Like,
seeing that with the current president. He yells bomb every time. So it's like
yeah,
it's happening to our society, you know?
and that's the thing. The president can ruin the world 140 characters at a time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Look how much damage has been done without firing a single bullet for the most part,
Yeah. Yeah.
without launching a nuclear missile for the
Yeah.
most part.
Yeah.
So there is power in language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
obviously can't pretend that there isn't. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
I do
know. Like I
think,
said, it's
yeah,
a
I
chicken
do
and the
think,
egg kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, I kind of agree with that when we say chicken and egg because it's kind of like, I do think it's like both. I think thought informs speech and then language informs, it does go back and forth probably.
Yeah,
Because I feel
it's
like Orwell,
constantly in flux too, language.
yeah, I feel
You know
like
what I
Orwell
mean?
in the book kind of outlines, he seems to be really focused on how language makes new thoughts. That seems to be his kind of overarching theme there. And that's fine. I think there's
And the
some truth to
party
that.
doesn't want you to have thoughts.
Right. So they
That's
try to
why
limit
they're
language.
that's why they're yeah, that's why they're like how Syme says, we don't need all these words, we just
Yeah,
need the
yeah.
one word.
Right, right.
So that's a great thing to bring up, you know.
Yeah, one final point on that. There's at the very end, I don't know if you got, there's a little bit about newspeak when the book is over that Orwell mentions some stuff about newspeak, like the new language. The
Uh
really funny part was he talks about I think it was, is it the beginning of, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created. I think it's the Declaration or is it the beginning of the Bill of Rights? I think it's the Declaration of Independence.
I don't remember that part actually. Was that was in the
Oh, but it's
book?
in Newspeak. It's past the book, so he brings the thing about Newspeak at the end of the book. But anyway, there's a thing there where he has the beginning of the Declaration, and and then he argues that the party would just redefine it as a thought crime. That whole intro, I thought that was great. I was like, they would take that whole paragraph and they would redefine it thought crime, the whole thing. He's like,
Yeah.
we can redefine it in a single word, thought crime.
Yeah.
And I was like, there you go. It's like a beautiful way to,
They
yeah.
memory hold
So,
it, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
put it
They
away.
threw it
Nope,
just
that's
threw it in
not
the
correct.
memory hole.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, that's too many thoughts, too big thoughts there. Big words can't do that. So I love that. That was pretty funny.
Um, I also like that this book has had such an impact that people describe things as Orwellian.
Yes.
Like you have Dickensian, right? Dickensian sort of makes you think about like a world where people are like sort of poor and struggling, and but
Yeah.
Orwellian makes you think of like it makes you think of fascism. It makes you think of
Totalitarianism.
authoritarianism,
Yeah.
totalitarian. Yeah. So you've had an impact when your name becomes a well, what would that be? Not an adjective. I don't even know my own language.
Orwellian. I think Orwellian's an adjective, isn't
Is it?
it?
But
Yeah.
you understand what
That's
I'm saying,
basically
though.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just find that so great that
Yeah, it's like a coined new word, basically, It's like
yeah,
a
like
new
like
word.
you say Orwellian, and you immediately know what you're talking what someone is talking about when they say, oh, like
Mhm.
that's Orwellian. It's like another way of
Yeah.
saying, well,
Yeah.
that's dystopian,
I
basically.
really feel like doublethink is like the biggest part that's Orwellian to me, where it's like people can, whatever the party needs, they'll just think that, and then they throw away what the old thing was. Doublethink, you just, or two plus two is five. I believe it because you say it's true. Just like at
Right.
the end, but one of the haunting things at the end is when O'Brien's torturing Winston, and then he's holding up, what was it? Was he holding four? Oh yeah, he's like, how many fingers am I holding up? And he keeps saying four. Like
Mm,
Winston keeps repeating four,
yeah.
four, four. He's like, no, wrong again. And he wants him to
Yeah.
say five. He's like, the answer is five,
Yep.
But he's actually
Yeah.
holding a four. And the whole time he's forcing Winston to say five. He's like, it's true because I say it's true. The party says it's true. I speak for the party. His party says it's five.
Yeah.
And he finally caves at the end, says it's five. So it's like, I was just really sad and crazy. I was like, damn, he just like has to disregard truth and just like, nope, okay,
Yeah.
it's, that's what we see now.
And that's yeah, and again, that's why it's so appropriate to read this book in the current climate we're in,
Yes.
right? Because we're watching this unfold in real time
Yeah.
in so many ways. And I was just thinking about I can't even think, Parable of the Sower. I was just thinking about
Mhm.
Brave New World, and now this book that we've covered on this show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so interesting to me all the different aspects that each respective author got right
Mhm. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the
You can
world.
kind of put them all together in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, like and so where it's about this sort of post-capitalist society where everything is
Yeah.
basically broken down.
And like
But
a lot
there's
of
still that,
homelessness.
yeah, there's still that theme where only a small percentage of people are doing just fine, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in Brave New World, it's an outsider comes in and he sees how bad this world is, right,
Yeah.
for everybody.
The superficial
Superficial, you know.
fallout. Yeah.
And then in 1984, it's a guy who's part of the system that is creates all this
Right.
oppression, but
Mental
and he
oppression.
knows that it's bad, but he knows that if he were to ever
Yeah.
say or look, even just looking the wrong way,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
thought crime. You're done,
Yeah. Hmm.
vaporized. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of dystopic stories we've covered,
Yes. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they've been
Maybe we'll get
great
away from
stories.
dystopia coming up on the next on another Book Brothers.
I mean, we
Um,
could keep going. I feel like we could almost keep going
it's
because
so dark
like
and depressing. It's so
I know
down.
it really is.
Although I would say, I don't know, what would you say? Would you say Parable is more, I would say Parable is more depressing than 1984, just because like there was more violence, there was more like homelessness. Like here, this is like we were talking about, there's more like mental oppression, you know? It's
I
more
think
like,
Parable is way more closer to reality than
yeah,
1984,
yeah,
but there's a lot of aspects of 1984 that are peppered into our society
yes.
currently.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Worse even than what's in the book
Maybe,
itself.
maybe. So,
And same thing with Brave New World. Brave New World is not very grounded in reality, but
yeah. The
excuse me,
entertainment
there's
part, the
aspects of it
drugs.
that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
for sure. Yeah. This is causing way too many thought crimes, okay? One of those thought crimes is the idea of war, because also brought up throughout here, which we have not talked about yet, is the idea of these three warring states. There's
Oh
Oceania,
yeah, yeah.
there's, I forget the other ones, what they're called. I think Oceania is the,
It's well, Oceania is where our main character
yes,
lives,
where's Winston's
and
at?
what used to be the
Is it
UK is
Eurasia?
now called Airstrip One,
Oh,
and
Airstrip
they're
one.
fighting against
I think it's East Asia, isn't that
yeah.
what, like,
So
East Asia?
Oceania, Eurasia, and East Asia,
Okay. So yeah, the
and
three
yeah,
warring states here, Adrian. So we got Oceania, what was it East Asia
East Asia and Eurasia.
and Eurasia.
Yep.
So these three warring states that are going on in 1984, what's really fascinating about it is throughout the book, they constantly are changing who they're fighting
Yep. And
and
changing the narrative.
changing the narrative of why they're fighting. And Winston is even aware of this, so he has to constantly change the propaganda. Like, oh, now they're fighting this guy because they don't want this thing. But yes, last week they were at war with this one, but not anymore. And then the party line will completely change. No, we've always been at war with East Asia. We've always been at war with them. That's been going on forever. Like, I love that how they just will. That's like the double think there, where you just, nope, this is the propaganda now. This is the line. That's what we're going with. And I just
Yeah.
love that. Like, and we're always at war, even though no one has actually ever been bombed in Oceania,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird. That's a very
Well,
similar
that's what
thing.
they
Well,
say.
there's, yeah, yeah. There's also like there's wars out there in the world today, but we don't really feel it today, at least in the United States, not now, not currently, not the physical realities of war. Like maybe it could happen, but like it's
Well,
very
because that's
similar
what
in that way. It's
we
like,
have a great privilege
yeah,
to be Americans living in America.
yeah,
In a way, if you're an American, you're pretty much living off the backs of the suffering of many other people in many other parts of the
yeah,
world that you'll never know about or hear about.
right.
But the great thing about the internet is that you can't fully suppress information, right? So it's like we know about Gaza
Right.
and Ukraine and even like South Sudan, which is crazy what's going on there, and
Yeah.
that's not being talked
All
about
the
at all
wars.
in
Yeah.
the mainstream. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. The whole concept of war is peace, right? And
Hmm.
and changing the narrative, friends to enemies, back to
Instantly
enemies
changing it.
again.
Yeah.
You know, that's history just even in the last 50 years, you know.
Yeah. It kind of like, yeah, it's kind of weird
We
how like
dropped two nuclear bombs on Japan, but Japan is now an ally.
an ally. Yeah. Yeah.
To me, as someone who enjoys history, I'm not a huge history buff, but I do enjoy a little bit of reading about history. To me, that's still crazy that we could drop the ultimate weapon on somebody, and then all these years later, they're now our friends, I should
Our
say.
ally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just the concept of that just kind of
Do you
screws with
think,
my head a little bit. You
yeah, I
know what
love
I
it.
mean?
Do you think that there's a parallel in our world with that? Because like I was kind of thinking, I love the idea of that, but like at the same time, like you bring up Japan, for instance, like in reality, we bombed them a long time ago. Now they're been allies for a while. Um, so it's for me, there's a mismatch there with Orwell's prediction because like we're aware that, well, we used to be enemies, now we're not anymore, you know? So like for me, I don't quite know. Maybe there's like other facets of propaganda that works, but at least for war, that doesn't work. At least not
Well,
currently, but
I think the world is just very transactional. Like
okay.
our allies, our friendships with other countries
Yeah.
are mostly transactional.
Hmm.
And I think that's what it comes down to because it's all about I think it's about resources and having strategically placed military bases throughout the world. All we want to have that, right? So
That's what we have.
how do you keep the military complex going, military industrial complex going? You
Yeah.
make friends with countries and you say, hey, let me build a base on an island offshore. Let
Yeah.
me have a base in your country. We have bases in Germany for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So yeah, the friendships, like I said, they're purely transactional.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they can change at a moment's notice, by the way. Today, Germany's our
Oh
ally.
yeah.
Tomorrow, they won't be.
Oh yeah.
You know,
That can
like
happen. Especially with our
with
current
what's currently going
administration.
on, you'll never know who might
Speaking
be
of, yeah, yeah. Speaking
our
of
friend or
words of
enemy.
power, when you keep saying certain things about me, wanting to attack a certain country, you keep saying that over and over again, that could happen, I
Yeah.
mean, no.
I mean, sad, but it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but like, who knows when somebody will finally get fed up and be like, another disastrous attack happens on American soil. You know what I mean? Which is, it really shows our privilege as Americans, where any kind of attack on American soil is unthinkable to us, but it happens every day,
It
in other
happens in a
parts
lot
of
of
the
other
world.
countries, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, like we're riding on the backs of so much death and destruction. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we're subsidizing some of that, by the way. We're
Yeah.
subsidizing
Yeah.
death and destruction in other parts of the world, and it's like, how do you reconcile that? You know what I mean? In the modern world, like I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Not hard, I think that's why maybe you're seeing our current moment because it's hard to reconcile. So people went extreme to one way because it's just like, well, I'm just going with this because I turn my brain off and it's easier. It's
Yeah,
easier. So maybe that's why we're saying that. But
yeah, yeah.
lots of double think going on.
Lo- This
Plenty of
podcast
double
is about
think.
crime, my friend.
I know, pretty much. Uh,
But
Fox
hey,
News has plenty of double think going on.
yeah, and you know what?
Corporations double think everywhere.
Since we're on the subject of history, I'm going to do something we haven't done on the show yet, but just recommend another book.
Okay.
If you've ever read this,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
A
I heard
People's
about the
History of
book.
the United States by Howard Zinn. I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
why the
It's
camera's
a little
flipping
blurry.
out there, but it's a good book.
You read it?
I'm not well, not fully, but
Okay.
I'm actually going to try and finish it this year because
Okay.
it is kind of a chunker, but it's a lot of eye-opening history. It's a nonfiction book. A lot of
Mhm.
eye-opening history in this book as far as sort of how the U.S. has basically the real history of how things happened the way they happened and
Yeah.
how the
Yeah.
U.S. came to be. And
Happened to large like immigrant and native populations, right? Doesn't it talk a lot about like Native Americans and stuff like that?
it talks about the reality as far as like how we exploited indigenous
Yeah.
peoples
Mhm.
to basically found the country.
To take the
Found,
land.
to have founded the
To
country.
find the
I
country?
don't know how to talk sometimes.
I don't know, to build the country, I guess you
The
could say.
country was founded on the backs of indigenous people, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
The
We
death,
took their land. Maybe you could say how we took their land and everything.
yeah, took their culture too.
Their
Took everything.
culture. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But
speaking
yeah,
of that, by the way, I remember, I don't know if this was, I think it was in the first Trump administration. I know they talked about they were going against Howard Zinn's book there. That there was talk about that. I remember Trump.
Oh
There was
yeah,
actually a speech on
conservatives
that.
hate
They
that
were
book.
against to get it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They do not
because
like Howard
conservatives
Zinn.
hate any book that exposes
Makes
the
you think
truth.
and makes the country not look so good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
I saw a video the other day. I wish I could remember. One of the big educational publishers that publishes textbooks that you and I have read in
Yeah.
school, that publisher, their origins go back to like a guy that was like pro-slavery during
Oh,
the
really?
during the antebellum period of the
Mhm.
U.S.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't really have a lot of that's why a lot of those books don't really touch on uh, you
Okay.
know, critical race theory, especially. That's why that's such a big hot topic, because they're trying to
Yeah.
bring critical
Yeah.
race theory back into schools. And
Yeah.
of course, conservatives hate that, right? Because it makes them,
Yeah.
paints them in a bad light.
Right.
But it's
Right.
just like the truth is the truth, right? The history is history.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as we've learned, David, that doesn't
Double
matter in the
think.
current climate.
Good
Yeah,
old
it's
double think for
doublethink.
you.
Yeah, you got a memory hole, all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We don't need that.
Uh, the perfect example of another dystopian novel we could do is Fahrenheit 451. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
plenty of books.
going forward, you have the next pick, Adrian. I think next, our next talk is going to be probably The Prince next month, I believe. So we're going to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
The Prince by
Nikolai
Machiavelli.
Machiavelli coming up here.
Machiavelli.
Should be
I
pretty
said his
interesting.
name. Yeah,
Machiavelli.
we're gonna do that next, and then I'll have to think about maybe we. I mean, I kind of want to do for Fahrenheit 451, but I also feel like maybe it's too much of a dystopian kick. So who knows? I'll think of something else.
Okay.
But
Yeah, final thoughts on 1984.
final thoughts. I mean, honestly, this is a must read. This is a book
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
everyone and their mother should read this book and then supplement it with Animal Farm. And then bonus points if you read John Williams Stoner, by the way. That's
Bonus
just
points.
that. Actually, you know what? Let me pair that one with a better book, The
As you should.
Stranger.
The Stranger?
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
Albert Camus. Yeah, you talked about it. Yeah.
A better pairing is The Stranger by Albert Camus with Stoner.
Okay.
Pair that,
Stranger and
and by the way,
Stoner.
they're both relatively short. Stoner's a little bit longer, but Stranger's
Okay.
really short.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, 1984 classic novel. You should read
Yeah.
it.
Really good.
It should be required reading. I think that if you read it, you'll start to see the parallels between that book and the real world. And
Yeah, and it's always
yeah,
timeless. Like the crazy thing is it always seems like it'll always be somewhat relevant, like no
always.
matter what happens in history, there's always like cycles to it and propaganda will always come up. And so this is a good one to think about oppression and totalitarianism. Yeah,
It's the
fantastic.
ultimate
One of the best,
totalitarian book.
yeah, one of the best books ever written, right here. So,
By the way, there is a book I saw the other day at the bookstore, not the library, the bookstore.
yeah.
I was just bring it up really quick. There's a book called, have you heard of this, David? Called Julia. It is a novel that is set in the same dystopian world
Oh
as
wow.
1984,
Is it Follow Julia?
offers a retelling of the events from the perspective of Winston Smith's love interest. Yeah,
Hmm.
exploring women's experiences under totalitarianism in the same universe.
That sounds pretty good.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that at Barnes and Noble. I was like, what? They did
Wait,
a.
who wrote that book? Was that did they get permission to?
I don't know the behind the scenes of it.
Huh.
It wasn't written by
Yeah,
Orwell,
not by
obviously,
Orwell,
but
yeah.
it might be worth considering.
Yeah, maybe we
You
could do
know,
that, dive into that at some point. That sounds interesting, actually.
who did write it? Sandra
Yeah.
Newman. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Okay. So it's
Sandra Newman. Yeah, I don't know what else she's
that'll be
written.
interesting to dive into Julia's perspective, because then we can like see if the conspiracies are true. Did she rat Winston out?
Yeah, right.
So maybe he talks about that.
I
Like,
don't
what
see
she
what
wrote.
else she's written besides Julia, but
Okay.
yeah, we
Yeah.
should look into that.
Yeah.
That might be an interesting follow up to this.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. She's trying to fill big shoes there. If she's, I probably wouldn't touch this book, if I was like an author, I'd be
No,
like, oh, I'm gonna do my, like, I don't want to like touch his legacy.
but
But that's pretty cool.
it could be interesting to like
Yeah, it could be.
see the same world through Julia's point of view and like
Yeah.
how it works
Yeah.
for her. I mean, what's interesting also really quick I'll say is that you could almost he could have done a whole series of these books
Oh
Orwell.
yeah.
He could have done a trilogy of
Yeah, yeah.
and who so many different avenues to explore. So,
Yeah, he
what are your
could.
final
Yeah.
thoughts on
Yeah.
1984, David?
Yeah. One of the best books ever written. Go read it if you haven't already. Great for history, great for learning about government propaganda, thought control. Uh, and do what Adrian and I are doing right now. We are thought criminals, so go live that life. It's fun and free, so go for it.
For now. You
For
always
now.
have
Unless we
that
get
for
vanished
now.
or vaporized, who knows? But
Yeah.
live free for now,
Cool. Anything you want to plug, David? You want to plug your book
Oh
real
yeah, I'm
quick?
gonna plug my channel a little bit. So I do
Oh
see
yeah.
I'm still at Baby Sagan, but I gotta change that up. So I don't know if you want to change that, but I do have a new channel name. It's Professor Pixel. So I have a rebrand on my YouTube channel. Pretty cool. So I decided to do. I didn't want to copy Carl Sagan anymore, even though I love Sagan. He's in my heart forever. But it's like I'm not Carl Sagan. I'm my own person. So I want to like do my own science since I do a lot of video games, a lot of pop culture references. So. But yeah, I'm Professor Pixel on YouTube, so I'm still doing my channel. And then also wrote my book, Project Red Planet, which is out on Amazon now. Pretty funny, hilarious. Go read it if you have not. So yeah,
Awesome. Well, hey, yeah, check out David's new channel. Well, same channel, different name, Professor
yep,
Pixel.
yep.
Project Red Planet, good book to read, a fun book to read. And the only thing I have to plug is my podcast, the Never Seen It podcast, which by the way, I have a shirt for. My
Oh,
one of my
nice.
co-hosts,
Yeah,
Donnie,
sure.
made us a
Oh, very
shirt.
cool.
I
Never
don't know if you
seen
can
it.
see that pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Looks pretty cool.
Never Seen It podcast,
Nice.
neverseenitpodcast.com. We
Got
I just
t-shirts.
noticed that there's a QR code. I don't even know what that
Yeah.
leads to.
Right to the
We're,
website, I would
we'll have
assume.
to start
Like one of
selling
your videos.
merch. This is a
Yeah.
cool shirt. I like
Oh,
it.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Never Seen a Podcast. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube as well as David's, and
Yeah.
we're also on Instagram. So follow us on there, and obviously follow the show, Book Brothers Podcast on YouTube. I'm at Books Too Big on TikTok. David, you're still at Baby Sagan on TikTok and Blue Sky, by the way.
I'm on Professor Pixel now. Actually, I changed that too.
Oh,
Although
okay.
yeah, I might have to change my Instagram or TikTok, but Blue Sky,
Yeah.
I'm in Professor Pixel now. So
Cool. Well, yeah, but check it. We're on all the channels. We do other
yeah,
stuff. Obviously, I do movies and I do the books with David. I do the
yep,
books. We're on the books.
yeah,
But yeah, that's the show, Book Brothers Podcast. Check
yep,
us
yep.
out, and we'll see you next time, hopefully.